Hello everyone, my name is Ram. So today we are going to learn how to implement CRUD operation in ASP.NET Core. So let me share my screen. Let me open Visual Studio. So before I create a new project, I just want to give you some background about CRUD operation. So for example, if you want to implement uh, this CRUD operation, like create, read, update, and delete. Uh, I think we need to perform these operations, right? So for that, we can create a new project. Okay, so let me create a new project in Visual Studio Editor. Okay, I'll select new project, ASP.NET Core. Okay, so here we have different options. We can select, ASP.NET Core web application using Razor pages. Razor is nothing but the combination of C# and then HTML. So we can write both HTML code for designing and then C# code that we receive from the controller that we want to display it in, display on the page. So that code I think we can use using the Razor pages or .cs HTML pages. Okay, so the Razor syntax is embedded within at the rate. So we need to give at the rate and then curly braces. Within that we can write C# code. So for performing the CRUD operation, so I'll select this option. So ASP.NET Core Web Application Model View Controller. Okay, and then I'll click on Next. So I'll create it as, we can give some project name here. I'll give it as Employer Web Application. And then it is going to, get saved in some location like C user, or if you want to change, you can change it. And then after that, you can click on Next button. Okay, so here I think we have the framework that we have in .NET. I think that is .NET 8.4. Okay, so Visual Studio 2022 is the latest version of this one, .NET 8.4. And then authentication, if you want to implement authentication, in that case we can select individual accounts, and then I'll show you how to authenticate using this particular option, individual accounts, later in the section. So now I'll click on create. So this is going to create a new project with some existing files. So I'll explain each and every file in that particular project. Okay, so here if you see we have different folders like www root. Okay, and then here we can see CSS files. All the CSS files, and then JS files and libraries related to Bootstrap, jQuery. So everything will be placed into this www root folder, and then this one favicon.ico. So whenever we run the application, on the top left side, I think within above the URL, I think we can see this favicon, right? So that can be added in this particular www root folder. And then we have different folders for controller. And then this is data. This is kind of, in entity framework, we'll have application DB context and then migrations. So this I will explain this in later part of the section. So for now, I'll continue with the controller, model, and then views. So in MVC, uh, for example, if you want to perform any operation, uh, the page will be divided into three parts. So one thing is controller. So controller is nothing but, for example, if I want to save some data for the employer, in that case, we will enter the details in that particular employer page, right? Like, for example, employer name, his address, and then his salary. So those things I want to save in the database. So for that, I think we need to have one controller um, action method. So let me show you that. Yeah. So if you see here, public I action result and then index. So this is returning view. Okay. So this index is the action method. With the same name, I think we can find uh, what we can say view. Okay. So under views, we have a folder with home. So this is the home controller, right? So with the same name, we have one folder with home and then index.cshtml. So as I said earlier, index.cshtml is the razor page. So in razor page, we can include HTML code as well as C# code for displaying the data. Okay. So when we run the application, it will get hit. I mean, this particular method will get hit. Okay. So if I add debugger here and then run it using IIS Express, okay, then it will hit this particular method and then the corresponding view. I mean, the corresponding view is this one, home. Under home folder we have index.html, right? So this section will be displayed with the title home page, and then this one with header one tag welcome, and then this paragraph will be displayed. So let me run the application and then show it to you. Okay, so when we run the application, so IIS is the Internet Information Server. Okay, so this one, when we run the application, this is the local web server where our local web application will be getting run. So here, if you see, this is having some port number. So HTTPS semicolon colon slash and then this one localhost slash port number, right? So if you see here, I have added debugger in this index method, right? So this is getting hit, and then it will return the corresponding view of that particular index method. So if you see here, as I said earlier, welcome, and then this particular paragraph. This is H1, and then this is paragraph that we have in that particular index.html page, CSHTML page. So if I change this one, I mean, I want to give it as this application is to display employer information. Okay, and then let me remove this one anchor tag and then add learn about implementing CRUD operation in ASP.NET Core. Okay, so let me save it and then restart the application. Okay, so I have saved those details and then restarted the application again. So it should display the updated content in that particular home index page. Sorry, so the debugger, I think I have added this debugger, right? That's why I think it is stuck here. So we can continue. Okay, you can see the updated content here, right? This application is to display employer information and then learn about implementing CRUD operation in ASP.NET Core. So here the URL, I mean, it is not having this slash home slash index, right? Even if we give this one, I think it will navigate to the same page. So by default, when we run application, I think, this index method will get hit. Okay. even if we remove this particular path home/index, um, the action result method, I think it will call the same method. Okay, so after this, let me stop running the application and let me create a new class for creating CRUD operation for employer. So let me go to models and then add new model, add new class, then I'll give it as employee. Okay, employee.cs, add. Okay, and then I'll add some properties here. So let me add id property for auto increment value. So I'll give it as, so the shortcut for creating property is prop, and then you can do the tab. I mean, you can click on the tab button for 2 times, then it will create a new property for us. So public int, I'll create it as id, and then get set access modifiers. Um, After that, we can create employee name. So we can create employee name, and then his email ID, and then his phone. So these are enough for me. These properties are enough to store the data. Okay. So now I'll create a constructor over here. So let me create a constructor using shortcut CTOR and then tab. Sorry, I think it created something else. Let me undo these changes. You or tab. No, I think there's something wrong. So within the class we need to create it, right? That's why I think it is not creating that constructor. CTOR tab. So it created a default constructor without any parameters. So let me save this one. Okay, and then so after this, I think I have created employer class, right? So this is a model. So for this model, I think if I want to perform CRUD operations on employee, like adding employee and then updating, deleting, and then showing the details of that particular employer, I need to create one controller, right? So under controller folder, I'll add new. Okay, so I'll use this one. So I think we can click on controller, then it will display multiple options to us. So if we want to add MVC controller empty or MVC controller with read and write actions, also we can create controller MVC controller with views using entity framework. So I'll select this option. So once we select this option, I think it will do the scaffolding, like it will auto generate the views and then the respective controller methods and everything will be auto generated. So I'm going to select this option MVC controller with views using entity framework, and I'll click on add button. Okay, so after that it will display this pop-up with some options that we have. Model class, so I can select model as employee. So we have created employee, right? So this model will be added, I mean, so new table will be created with the same model class. Okay, so employee database table will be created in the database using this app db context. Okay, so in entity framework, I think this db context we can select application db context, and then here I think we can see different options, right? Under views, generate views, so it will generate the views, and then use a layout page. So layout page is nothing but master class in ASP.NET, we can say. So let me add, I mean select all these options and then click on add. Okay, so you can see it here, right? So scaffolding, so it is going to generate all the classes, uh, sorry, all the views, and then it will generate new employer controller.cs file. Within that we can see different methods for creating, updating, and then deleting, and then viewing the details. So this will create all those files once we click on add button.